Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome in. This is FST. It's Fantasy Sports Today. My name's Matt. His name is Joe. The guys behind the glass are Sam and Jake and a few others. I only see the back of their heads. What's your name? I don't know. I'm sitting here and you're watching there. But if you want to tell me, at SportsGrid TV, those are our social media handles. Let us know your name, where you're watching, all these good things. Joey P, come on in. I see your beautiful, beautiful face, the author of the Fantasy Black Book. That's just changed the way people are playing fantasy sports and winning money. So thank you for that. We have you here now. Welcome, my friend. What's up?
Well, it's a good time to be loving baseball, right? You got WBC starting this coming week, so that's very exciting. I like the World Baseball Classic. Some people do not. Matt, I believe you're a fan as well because it's exciting baseball, and we like that. Some people panic, though, because of the fantasy implications of it, but guys can get hurt in spring training the same way they can get hurt in World Baseball Classic. At least let's have a little fun. And we're going to have some fun today, baby. We got a lot of baseball to get to. And of course, it's fun to start seeing some of these players that we've been monitoring. Obviously, we always say spring training means nothing except for the players that it means everything for. Guys like Jack Gaglione, I want to see how he performs. Guys like Jonah Tong, I want to see how he performs. There's some guys where it does matter. Spencer Strider, another one of those guys too. Yesterday's outing, just want to throw this out at you. Hitting about 93 on the radar gun. That's kind of a far cry from the 99 that we're used to with Spencer Strider. Any panic there this early?
I think with a rotation that has guys like Sale and just has an Atlanta Braves pitching mindset overall, if Strider can figure out how to pitch instead of throw. So now you don't throw 98, you pitch 93. Now you have to place it. Now you have to be different about it. If Strider and the Braves can figure that out, yes. If not, then he just becomes another guy. But I still think his stuff plays in Major League Baseball.
Well, he's not the only pitcher that's continuing to recover from arm issues. Shane McClanahan at the top of that board, too, has not pitched in 2 years, folks. 2 years, Shane McClanahan. And I want to start there for today because I know there's a lot of people in the fantasy community that's very excited about him. To me, I think he's still going a little too early. I understand the mindset in a more shallow league to take a chance because the replacement value is much easier. In a 10-team league or even a 12-team league, if you swing and miss on Shane McClanahan and he gets hurt again or there's an issue where he can't pitch, well, that's okay because the waiver wire is bountiful. If you're in a deeper league, I think you have to think long and hard about this. Obviously, we know when Shane McClanahan is at his best, how good he can be. You have to go back all the way to 2023 to find it, though. 21 games, a 3.29 ERA, 115 innings pitched, 121 strikeouts, and a 1.18 whip. Look, he was a Cy Young contender in 2023 and in 2022. But, Matt, he hasn't pitched in 2 years. He's had Tommy John surgery more than once. He's got a nerve issue. To me, it's still a very tenuous situation for Shane McClanahan. I'm rooting for Shane McClanahan, but I'm also trying to be realistic. Before the show, we did a little exercise where I was looking for guys who hadn't pitched in 2 years and then came back. One of them was Jacob deGrom, and it was like, okay, well, Jacob deGrom last year certainly proved a lot of the haters wrong, and I was one of them. And the other one was a very serious issue, Dave Dravecki, which was, if you don't know that because you're too young, I say Google it, but be careful because
don't.
It was a very, just don't. Very sad story there. But Shane McClanahan, for you, is he a top 50 pitcher for you in your mind? I know theoretically he is, but in terms of investment, are you there?
So you made a good point at the top, and I don't want it to be overlooked or to bury the lead here. You said if you're in a shallow league versus if you're in a deep league. So I think the approach is if you're a fantasy manager in a 10-team league, you have to look at, and Joe and I love doing this, is who's around Shane McClanahan in that particular draft spot, and would you rather? But in a deeper league where it's going to be a little harder to try to replace that particular draft value, I don't know. I am a McClanahan fan. In some mock drafts, I have found myself saying, sure, I'll grab him. He isn't in my top 2 tiers of targets, alliteration aside, because now that I'm older, I draft with targets and it's all league dependent. But as far as the most drafts I've been doing, the top 2 tiers, McClanahan kind of just sits just outside of that as far as draft capital I'm willing to risk or invest. Joe.
All right, let's play the game because I know you love to play the game, right? Who's going around the ADP? Let's check it out. Shane Bieber or Shane McClanahan, the battle of the Shanes. Who do you want?
I want Bieber.
Okay. How about Aaron Nola off a down year? But remember, every other year is great for Aaron Nola. You want Aaron Nola, or you want the guy who takes the ball every fifth day the last 10 years, or do you want Shane McClanahan?
So this is, folks, if you like to read now in this day, you can just look it up. Something called The Paradox of Choice. It's a book out there. I want 3, and he's only giving me 2 because it forces me to make a pick here. And this one, I think I would go, boy, I'd have to see what the rest of my pitching is like, man. That's a toss-up. There's my answer.
All right, I'm taking Aaron Nola. I'm going to make it easy for you. How about Zach Gallen? Good finish to the season.
Tough one. All right, see, I like now. I understand where he is. Blah 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 blah. I think I like the team makeup McClanahan over Gallen.
All right, okay. So there you have it, everybody. So it must be appropriate ADP because Matt is struggling with the choice. So there you go. He's the 69th pitcher overall. I'll take all the guys that pitched last year for 1,000, Alex, over Shane McClanahan. Because I also think it's mental. Because I think there's the mental aspect of it along with the physical aspect of it. The physical risk is huge. We know that. But I think there's something mental about not having pitched in that long that I think is a lot on any athlete. You're an athlete most of your adult life.
I get it.
I say adult
I get what you're saying.
Air quotes. But still,
yeah,
like that is a lot. I mean, if you were to step back into the ring of 2 years of never doing it, I think there's a little bit of like, oh, can I still do this at the same level? Will it still be all right? Will I hurt myself? Like the inevitability of that. I mean,
yes, and yes to all those things. No, you're 1,000% right. And I'm mentally and physically struggling with that now at this point in my life. But it brings us to segue into the next guy, because there's a song out there. I think Toby Keith redid it, but whatever. It says, I ain't as good as I once was, but I'm as good once as I ever was. And I think about that for maybe someone like me, but Yordan Alvarez. I've been seeing Yordan Alvarez showing up healthy in a lot of drafts, and I'm seeing him in a great spot. And I'm like, wow, if I can simply get Yordan Alvarez's productivity as I know it to be at this particular ADP, every mock draft I've been doing, I've been grabbing him at this particular spot. Do you trust Yordan Alvarez's renaissance?
Well, I'm trying to figure out the grammar there. It doesn't seem very good from that quote.
Oh,
it just seems like
don't even
something might be off there. I'm just saying. But Yordan Alvarez, when healthy, so good, right? I mean, we're talking about a 30 home run, 100 RBI guy who's going to hit 300. Those guys don't always grow on trees, especially the guys who hit for power and average, right? I think that's the thing that you love about Yordan Alvarez so much, is the ability to do both in a time where, it's the guys who hit 40 home runs, they don't always hit 300. Some guys do, the Aaron Judges of the world, the Juan Sotos of the world, sure, those guys. But still, I mean, they're few and far between. It's about health for Alvarez. And it's not the first time he's had some health issues. I think where you're getting him ADP-wise, it makes a lot of sense. And I know today we're going to talk about the outfielders. We're going to do that preview today. We're also going to talk a lot about the relievers, too, today. Another pitcher, by the way, who is showing up back with his old team from 2025 is Max Scherzer. I don't know what we can expect from him from a fantasy perspective. I'm not looking for too much out of the 40-something-year-old guys, but in terms of just bringing more depth, you can never have enough starting pitchers. So Toronto, I think, in that sense, smart move by the Blue Jays there. Also, Starling Marte signed with the Kansas City Royals.
I saw that. Good ad.
I hope that doesn't eat into any Jack Caglione time. That's all I'm saying. That's my
but the Royals definitely, I think, are a much improved team. I'm shopping for them in the fantasy world, in the fantasy supermarket. I think they definitely need some outfield help. A guy like Marte could still do something for them. I just saw that last night. Good of you to bring it up here this morning.
Yeah, so we'll see. Again, Marte, I don't expect to play more than 100 games at most anyway. Physically, he's not there. But again, just Royals, please, let Jack Caglione play. I know last year was no good. AAA was amazing. AA was amazing. Just let him figure it out. Now, we have to figure out some things when it comes to the ninth inning, because some teams, they got the ninth inning locked down. Other teams, not so much. So Matt Striker and I are going to do a little deep dive on some of the bullpens that are in a little bit of chaos. The closers by committee, how we want to invest in them. Do we want to invest in them? We have all the answers for you, but you got to stick around here on SportsGrid, so don't go anywhere. More FST coming at you right after this. We've got FST outfield preview today, too, so we got a lot of good stuff. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Michigan at a 57% chance right now, followed by Arizona, Duke, and Houston. Here's the interesting caveat, Joe, for Michigan, who's the favorite right now. On February the 8th at 5 a.m., they were trading at 40%. Today, 57%. People like themselves some Michigan here.
Well, Donnie, exactly, because Michigan, it just vaulted themselves to number one in the AP poll.
Prediction Markets Edge, only on SportsGrid.
How much do you think tanking is hurting the NBA right now, too, and what we're seeing, like we saw with that Jazz and Orlando game a week ago? How much do you think that's hurting the game?
I can't wait until professional sports in the United States adopts a European model, especially like a Premier League model, and they start doing relegation. The day you start doing relegation, everything changes. Everything will change.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
I have my own account. I don't need to have any. He didn't say any of that. So I'm of the belief that if someone accuses you of something and you don't deny it, there's a reason you didn't deny it. Because you kind of feel like they got me. And yes, I'm not going to tell you I did it, but I did it. Yeah. Don't you think so?
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Yeah, and with the Clippers, Craig, it feels like Kawhi is on the island. We saw him ball out in the All-Star game the other day. Kawhi was very impressive, and he's had a fantastic season. I think when you look at the Clippers, if the Clippers' record was better, but he's still at James Harden, you would be talking about Kawhi as an MVP candidate. He's been one of the best players in the league in terms of how he's been playing. He's been fantastic.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Well, welcome back into FST Fantasy Sports today. Matt and Joe with you here, along with just a great crew of folks. This entire network, all kidding aside, great crew of folks, quality programming, thumbs up all around. Happy to be a part of it. Joe, I'll tell you, we're lucky. We are lucky because at some point it's going to be the eighth and ninth inning, like you were saying, and we're going to need to close it out. And I'm from a place where an apple would rise out from the outfield and a guy would come in a little buggy or cart. And I say, bring back the bullpen cart. It was fun. But it's time to do closer by committee, which is an alliteration that no fantasy manager likes to hear. We're going to talk about some teams. We could talk about reminiscing about some of the great closers and the Rolaids relief men. And I just want Steve Bedrosian in a burgundy jacket for some reason. But all in all, these things are going to impact how we draft in our fantasy. So let's talk about the Tampa Rays. Let's start there. I personally think it's Griffin Jax's job to lose, but I want to hear from you.
Why is 80s baseball like our security blanket, right? Doesn't it make you feel really warm and fuzzy?
Yeah, because it's a better time. And people were alive and it was safe. There was stuff in the fridge. You didn't have to worry about bills. Yeah, it was a much better
safe.
time.
I grew up in New York. It was it's safe.
But still, dude, you had the couch and TV, and someone may or may not be coming home soon, and it just felt good.
I do like I do miss the hat on top of the cart. You know, like the ones that were shaped like the baseball and they had the baseball cap on top of it. That's a good time. We should absolutely bring that back 100%. All right, so let's start here with the Tampa Bay Rays here. Edwin Uceta, Griffin Jax, and Garrett Clevenger, those are the guys fighting for saves potentially in this bullpen. And I am somebody in my leagues that always waits on saves. Why? Because every year I find them. Last year, you know who I found everywhere for free? Aroldis Chapman at the end of drafts. How'd that work out? Pretty good. So why? Because you take guys who have experience, you take the veteran guys and you just go, okay, I'll find saves. And you know there's going to be injuries. You know there's going to be bad performances. You know there's going to be trades. Saves is the gift that keeps on giving, right? You're always going to have turnover there. You can't find 40 home runs typically. Like the Nick Kurtz on the waiver wire, that's an anomaly. That does not happen every year. But I'm going to find 30 saves somewhere. I can tell you that right now. Now, Uceta's dealing with a shoulder impingement. He got a cortisone shot in it this week. So apparently he's okay. But I think there is a little bit of a concern. Jax is the guy that I am in on. Big strikeout rate. That's where I'm going to go. So even if Uceta ends up eventually with, getting some saves in this mix, a guy starting the year injured is not where I want to begin things. I don't like the phrase cranky shoulder. That was also in quotes too. It doesn't sound great. He got the cortisone shot. We'll see how he goes. He's hoping to be ready in April. We'll see if that unfolds. But you seem to be Team Griffin Jacks as well here in this pool in Tampa.
Yeah, Griffin Jackson's just a good ball player. I remember him from his time with Minnesota and then got out of there as far as a trade. And sometimes it takes a new opportunity in a pitcher-friendly park. Remember, a lot of people are trying to look at last year's Rays numbers and trying to put them into this year. They're going to play back in their old home park. It's a much different play. But overall, you made a good point, and we're going to move on to the Athletics here. Where to spend for closer, because your first grabs are going to be Miller, Munoz, like that. That's kind of where you're going to be taking your first. You're going to see that name pop up for ADP, and you're going to look at who's around those guys. Who's around Mason Miller, who's around Andres Munoz, and ask, what am I going to do? But I think Joe's right, because you look at a team like the A's, and it's going to be between Hogan Harris, and that's whom's job I think it will be, Justin Sterner, and Mark Leiter Jr. I think overall the A's are going to be a little bit better, go a little bit deeper into games, and have more chances to win. So I think it's Hogan Harris's job to lose, and he's a lefty. But Joe, I want to hear from you.
I think it's the lefty thing that makes it tricky, because a lot of managers don't like to have the lefty saving games, as if somehow, like, you can't be a left-handed closer. Like, that never existed in the history of baseball. But I'm with you. I think Hogan Harris is probably the guy there. Strikeout rate is not nearly what Griffin Jacks is. Also, you have to look, his ERA last year, 3.20, but the expected ERA and the xFIP all in the high threes and even low fours. So it's not the best case scenario. I would let this scenario kind of come to you. If you want to take a flyer at the end on Hogan Harris, cool. Or maybe take a flyer on the other two guys if you have deeper benches and deeper leagues, and just kind of wait and see. So it'll save you a little free agent budget in case Harris kind of falters a little bit. But I do think the Athletics will have some competitive games for sure. It's a pretty good lineup. They're going to score runs. It's just a matter of that they can get a lead and keep it with the starting pitching, I think is the big question there. But Harris, I agree, probably the lead guy, at least for now. But this is not a situation I'm getting into very excitedly, let's put it that way, with some of the deeper stats on Hogan Harris.
All right. Another team that if they overperform, we may find an opportunity to get some saves is the Los Angeles Angels. I think they've improved. I think Mike Trout is still going to be fun to watch. I'm not necessarily thinking, it's kind of funny, the Mike Trout, Christian McCaffrey kind of conversations that we have each year is a bit more separation, but it's just kind of like, where are they now as far as ADP goes? But you look at the Angels, you look at their bullpen, some familiar names. You have Robert Stevenson, talking lefties. You have Drew Pomeranz, and then there's Kirby Yates. And I think it's Kirby Yates' job. I recognize Kirby Yates in my mind as a closer, but take what you want from spring training. They had him throwing in like the 5th or 6th yesterday. So, Joe, your thoughts?
Well, you're throwing him in the 5th or 6th yesterday because you're trying to get him to face more major league talent. Like, that's what you're trying to. It's like, again, spring training, you keep repeating over and over to yourself the mantra of, doesn't matter. The stats don't matter. Just, is everybody healthy? That's pretty much what we're looking at, especially with veterans, right? Now, again, we talked about some guys it matters, like Jackson Merrill, we're going to talk about in the next segment coming up later on here in the show. It matters how he performs a little bit, for me in spring at least. I want to see him look sharp. I want to see him look healthy. But I tend to agree with you, which grates me here a little bit too, that Kirby Yates is probably the guy, because managers always want to favor the guys who are the veterans, the guys who have been there and done that before. I think Pomeranz is interesting though too, because he had a successful year out of the bullpen last year. He does have a strikeout rate over 10 Ks per 9. Pomeranz is a guy that's been in the league a long time, was a starting pitcher, bounced around a little bit. He's kind of settled in. He's a bigger kid, too. Or a kid. He's a man now. He's older. But Pomeranz, to me, is the one to watch, too, especially in leagues where you have holds, or I think he could be a valuable reliever. And if Kirby Yates can't get the job done for whatever reason, Pomeranz, I think, would be the next guy up there, to be honest.
Yeah, and then we get to the St. Louis Cardinals. Full disclosure, my favorite team. When I was a kid, they had a guy that would do backflips out to short. His name was Ozzie Smith, and I fell in love. Powder blue uniforms help as well. Jojo Romero from the left side, Riley O'Brien from the right. I think it's going to be. They're just going to play matchups, but I don't see a lot of wins coming their way, Joe.
Yeah, I can't tell if these are bullpen guys or characters from Peaky Blinders. We got Riley O'Brien and we've got Jojo Romero, and everyone's going to go to war here in this bullpen. I'll defer to you on the Cardinals bullpen and just say you're correct. But these aren't the only bullpens in flux. We come back, we're going to look at a couple more too, tell you how to draft them or if to draft them.
Michigan at a 57% chance right now, followed by Arizona, Duke, and Houston. Here's the interesting caveat, Joe, for Michigan, who's the favorite right now. On February the 8th at 5 a.m., they were trading at 40%. Today, 57%. People like themselves some Michigan here.
Well, Donnie, exactly, because Michigan, it just vaulted themselves to number one in the AP poll.
Prediction Markets Edge. Only on SportsGrid.
How much do you think tanking is hurting the NBA right now, too? And what we're seeing, like we saw with that Jazz and Orlando game a week ago, how much do you think that's hurting the game?
I can't wait until professional sports in the United States adopts a European model, especially like a Premier League model, and they start doing relegation. The day you start doing relegation, everything changes. Everything will change.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio. Only on SportsGrid.
I have my own account. I don't need to have any. He didn't say any of that. So I'm of the belief that if someone accuses you of something and you don't deny it, there's a reason you didn't deny it. Because you kind of feel like they got me. And yes, I'm not going to tell you I did it, but I did it.
Yeah.
Don't you think so?
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
Yeah, and with the Clippers, Craig, it feels like Kawhi is on an island. We saw him ball out in the All-Star game the other day. Kawhi was very impressive, and he's had a fantastic season. I think when you look at the Clippers, if the Clippers' record was better, but he's still at James Harden, you would be talking about Kawhi as an MVP candidate. He's been one of the best players in the league in terms of how he's been playing. He's been fantastic.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back into FST Fantasy Sports today. Matt and Joe with you here, giving you everything you need. If you're out there and you want to talk, at SportsGrid, at SportsGrid TV, those are our social media handles. Give us a follow, give the network a follow, and just follow along. Time to continue closer by committee. We talked about some other teams.
That should be the new theme song of the show. I like that.
Yeah, it's going to be a theme song, all right. The Arizona Diamondbacks will return a bullpen that is a two-headed monster of Kevin Ginkel and Paul Sewald, both from the right side. Joe, full disclosure, I don't care. You know what I mean? It's off. Can I curse? I don't give a The Diamondbacks, Ginkel, Sewald. What do you want to? What do you? Blah.
Well, I'm gonna say this. I think if Sewald is healthy and performs well in camp, that's probably where they should lean because they've had success with Sewald in the past. Also, my problem with Ginkel is that the walk rate is high. I mean, we're talking about a guy 4 walks per 9. Like that's not what you want to do. You do not want somebody who's going to put guys on in the 9th inning. That's a recipe for disaster. You don't want that. Right. Sewald is at 2. Right. So Sewald might not have the strikeout upside of Ginkel, but he's got the command that's a little bit better. And I think it makes me feel a little safer in terms of it. So I would actually be investing in Sewald here. And if you take advantage of these situations, Matt, because early going, there's those elite closers, right? And then you could just take shots here. And it's okay. Right. You can take a shot on 4 guys of all these groups that we're talking about. And if you hit on 50% of them, you're gold. You don't have to hit the waiver wire during the year, right? Even if you hit on 1 of them, it's probably a good return on investment, and then you'll figure something out on the waiver wire. If you hit on 0, that's tough. But you got to take a couple shots. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And I think when it comes to these bullpens in flux, you got to go ahead and you got to go take some shots on some of these guys. And to me, Sewald is one of those veterans. It's a good team. Arizona is going to be competitive. They're going to find a way to score runs like they always do. They brought back Zach Gallen halfway through the season. Theoretically, you're getting Corbin Burns back. So I think Arizona is actually a spot where I would rather have the closer there than the closer in St. Louis, TBH. Right. But I'll put that out there to you. Would you rather have Sewald or one of the Peaky Blinders cast members?
Did you just text me with your mouth? Like, well, what's happening right now?
LOL,
Like,
TTYL.
seriously.
I just text you with my mouth. That's gross.
There's a couple of things I want to address here. So you're asking me whom would I rather, JoJo Romero, Riley O'Brien, Kevin Giggle, Paul Sewald. I'm a Cardinal fan. I don't draft with my heart. I draft because I get sent into the abyss when my screen goes out, and why the not. I edited myself there. You see what we can do? It's amazing.
Very nice. Very nice.
You're probably right with regards to the pitching staff and the win equity of the Diamondbacks up against the Cardinals. But furthermore, are you advocating for in drafts taking a stab at 3 or 4 almost free square closers as opposed to working the waiver wire?
I think it's interesting, especially early on, to do that. If you have early drafts or if you're in like 15-team leagues, right, any of those deeper leagues, to me, you can look at that bench and you could say, oh, I want to add this player or that player, stuff. But sometimes it's just better, especially in any sort of auction or salary cap format, to just throw some dollar bids on some guys now and then hold them. That way you have the fab when bigger players get called up later on to spend. So I'm actually okay with that. It takes a little bit of patience though too, because these closer by committees don't work themselves out necessarily in the month of April all the time. Sometimes they don't work themselves out till late May, early June. So again, it's not a strategy for everybody, but to me, saves as a strategy. I'm waiting to find them later on. One more situation too, and it's very fitting we're doing closers today, I felt like too. We have the Washington Nationals up there too. We asked our resident Washington Nationals fan, the one remaining, our producer, Sam Yarnell, his thoughts. So why don't you share those thoughts with us here?
Putting it in my lap as if I were paying attention. But you see, here's the funny thing is that the three of us here, you, me,
he said
Sam,
he wants
and
Cole
I think
Henry
Jake,
to be Cole Henry. I think that's what it was.
Well, it's to the effect of, so it's between Clayton Beeter for the Nats and Cole Henry, and Sam's take was that the organization had more invested in Henry as a draft pick as opposed to Beeter, who was a trade acquisition, I do believe, from the Yankees. So with that type of business mindset, because remember, it's still a business network, playing fantasy and wagering, it's still a business, right? We're all still trying to make our margins, and we're all still trying to help pay for our revolving debt that we have. And sometimes when that gets taken away, we say, how are we going to do that? How are we going to pay our bills? There's still going to be baseball, right, boys? So that to Sam and to us, and that makes sense, that the Nats will have more invested in wanting to see Cole Henry succeed than Clayton Beeter. But I do return serving back to you, Joe. See, tennis reference, that may help us too, is that that whomever pitches better, whomever's going to get them wins is the guy they're going to go to, independent of if, he's our guy versus we got him from someone else.
Well, to continue with the one metaphor you were piling on there financially, staying liquid with saves, that's what you want to do. They're going to show up over and over again. So don't panic if you don't leave the draft with the guys you want at the top of that closer board. It's okay. But the outfield board, that's a different story. We'll talk about that when we come back.
Michigan at a 57% chance right now, followed by Arizona, Duke, and Houston. Here's the interesting caveat, Joe, for Michigan, who's the favorite right now. On February the 8th at 5 a.m., they were trading at 40%. Today, 57%. People like themselves some Michigan here.
Well, Donnie, exactly, because Michigan, it just vaulted themselves to #1 in the AP poll.
Prediction Markets Edge. Only on SportsGrid.
How much do you think tanking is hurting the NBA right now, too? And what we're seeing, like we saw with that Jazz and Orlando game a week ago, how much do you think that's hurting the game?
I can't wait until professional sports in the United States adopts a European model, especially like a Premier League model, and they start doing relegation. The day you start doing relegation, everything changes. Everything will change.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio. Only on SportsGrid.
I have my own account. I don't need to have any. He didn't say any of that. So I'm of the belief that if someone accuses you of something and you don't deny it, there's a reason you didn't deny it. Because you kind of feel like they got me. And yes, I'm not going to tell you I did it, but I did it. Yeah. Don't you think so?
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
Yeah, and with the Clippers, Craig, it feels like Kawhi is on an island. We saw him ball out in the All-Star game the other day. Kawhi was very impressive, and he's had a fantastic season. I think when you look at the Clippers, if the Clippers' record was better, but he's still at James Harden, you would be talking about Kawhi as an MVP candidate. He's been one of the best players in the league in terms of how he's been playing. He's been fantastic.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back into FST Fantasy Sports today. Let's dominate. We're talking outfield rankings here, talking to Joe Pisapia, the author of the Fantasy Black Book. Check it out. It literally will change the way you look at how you wager on sports, how you play fantasy sports. It starts to become like, if you're looking for a job, dude, playing fantasy and wagering, like that can help. And the Fantasy Black Book, I believe, and I'm advocating for it, is definitely an aid. Joe, there's the guy that wrote it. Look at that face. Look at that face. I want to pinch your digital virtual cheeks. We're looking at the outfield rankings here. Aaron Judge is number one, has an ADP of 2. I wonder who number 1 is. Juan Soto would be there, an ADP of 5. And then Ronald Acuna with an ADP of 8. Now, I'm circling Acuna. Really like him a lot. If anyone's in a league with me, go do something else right now, because I'm going to tell you all the reasons why I love Ronald Acuna. I just think the Braves are poised for bounce back, and I think recency bias just clouds baseball minds. What, all of a sudden Ronald Acuna isn't good? But I'll let you pick it up here. It goes Judge, Soto, Acuna, and then cold April, Julio Rodriguez. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, look, I don't want to dismiss that Juan Soto stole 37 bases last year and hit 43 home runs. So I'll put that out there. I'm going to put 35 stolen bases out there for Ronald Acuna. You want to take the over or the under on that in 2026?
Is he going to run that much? I don't know. Stolen bases are still stolen bases. I'll take the under on that. That's cautious to me.
I'm going to take the over, but I do want to just say definitively, Juan Soto is still on the board ahead of Ronald Acuna, I think, is correct. And I think Aaron Judge, where he is correct. I think this order of the top 3 guys is right. And that being said, Ronald Acuna has the possibility, let's not forget, to go 40-70, because we saw that a couple years ago. Do I think he's going to do that? Probably not. But Ronald Acuna looks fantastic this year. He looks strong. I've seen him in spring. I've watched him in a game. He looks really sharp to me. Julio Rodriguez, another 30-30 season for him, obviously. A slow starter, so you have to bake that in. If you don't get Julio, make a trade offer for him in Memorial Day, and all should be well. But historically, a very slow starter. Kyle Tucker, I think he's more of the second round guy, a 1A kind of guy. And keep this in mind, too, because when you're drafting outfielders, it all depends on the depth of your league. If you're in a 10-team league and you only start 3 active outfielders, it's very different. And you're just looking for best players available for the first couple rounds because it doesn't matter. If you're in a 15-team league that starts 5 active outfielders, you better hit outfield early, because you're going to go deeper into that pool. And by the time you get deeper into it, you're looking at guys in platoons who don't play every day, and then it gets really messy. So you want to solidify a couple guys. Now, this first tier, obviously, very solid in terms of the guys that are out there. Corbin Carroll, we'll see if he starts the year healthy, but he's a slow starter. Also, the hamate bone issue, it's probably going to be a slow start for him. Tatis, Schwarber, Churio. I've talked about Pete Crow Armstrong on this show. I showed you the collapse in the second half. I've shown you the bad stats his whole career against left-handed pitching. I don't know what more I have to do, but it's funny because Jordan Alvarez, the guy we talked about before, if you miss out on the elite outfielders, I think Alvarez is the guy you circle and you take the gamble on, because at his best, he could possibly be up at the very top of this board.
Yep, off this board, I circle Acuna, I circle Churio, I circle Jordan Alvarez. Let's move on now to this next set, this next tier. And what I'm finding interesting in a lot of my mock drafts is all the players that I want, because I draft from a position more so of want than need. I think I'm confident enough, right? And I think we should all be in our knowledge. But with that said, that all the players I want are kind of lumped into one little ADP, and I have to start to make sacrifices and pivots. Brent Rooker is one of those players. He tops this next tier, and I find him surrounded with some other players, and I'm like, oh, well, if I want to go pitching, I got to go this direction. If I still want to make sure I get my outfielders, it's this way. So Joe's really right here. Behind him would be Wyatt Langford. Then there's Roman Anthony. I really like Roman Anthony. I think he's poised to have a really big season. I'll let Joe expand on that. And then Cody Bellinger behind. I mean, you have to hope and believe that Cody Bellinger gives you a production adjacent to what he did last season. Joe?
Well, here's the big question. Do you think that Roman Anthony is a top 50 player going into 2027 drafts? And if the answer is yes, then you're getting a massive value on Roman Anthony. And I think the answer is absolutely yes. So for me going into this year, I know, again, started slow when he got called up, but he was raking in AAA. I think part of the reason they felt comfortable letting Alex Bregman walk was because Roman Anthony is a budding superstar. Now, hitting at the top of that order, the RBI total might get hurt a little bit, but still,
Right.
I think eventually Boston will add another bat somehow via trade, the trade deadline or before then. So keep an eye out for Boston to still be active in terms of adding offense. But Roman Anthony is just a dude. Like, he is going to be one of those guys. I think next year is going to be a late second round pick, maybe even early third. And you're getting him as the 52nd player overall. To me, that's a huge value. Wyatt Langford also solid. I like Wyatt Langford as well. But personally, between the two of them, I think Anthony has the bigger upside. Cody Bellinger, we'll see if he can repeat what he did last year with the Yankees. Obviously, those home numbers were terrific. Riley Green, the question is, can he sustain the power? It was great to see that power jump up. Batting average did suffer a little bit, but at the same time, some of the metrics say that the power might not be sustainable. I like Riley Green. I'm still investing in him as a player, but you do have to know that it might not be a copy and paste breakout season like you had last year. Jackson Merrill is the other guy too, another one who struggles against left-handed pitching. But if I'm going to take a chance on somebody who had a bad time last year or doesn't hit lefties, it's not going to be Pete Crow Armstrong at his ADP. It's going to be Jackson Merrill at his. Jackson Merrill might not steal 30 bases, but Jackson Merrill yesterday, 2 for 2 in spring, looks healthy this spring. Injuries really derailed him. Sophomore slump. You can put all those things together in one spot, but don't forget the spot he's hitting in is between Tatis and Machado, and he's going to see a ton of fastballs in that lineup. So lineup placement for a lot of these guys like Anthony, like Jackson Merrill, to me matter. George Springer, going to be 36 years old, coming off the first year in his career where he hit 300, coming off his highest output of home runs ever. I know he's made some adjustments, but Matt, to me, I just can't buy that all of a sudden at 35, 36, we have a George Springer renaissance that carries over for another year. So I'm out on Springer at his ADP. Are you?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not in on George Springer. I get it. I understand the recency bias, but these shows like this, conversations that you and I have had over the years, that's what separates the fantasy player and the wagerer. We know what to look for. So while most of the public is like, oh my God, George Springer, yeah, he had a great post. He did that. It's 36, and there's so many there's better options that you could go. Springer's sitting an ADP of 75. Byron Buxton at 74. I mean, now you can actually reach. I like Tyler Soderstrom on this list. He's at 85. If I'm sitting there and I like where I'm at as far as how I've drafted, bang, Tyler Soderstrom. And also from a wagering perspective, I just think Tyler Soderstrom overall against guys like Springer and Buxton offer you more. This is still going to always be about winning and being able to beat the next guy and being able to beat the book, Joe.
Well, Soderstrom is interesting because he's very streaky. Last year in April, he was unbelievable. 9 homers and 24 RBI in the month of April. Then things slowed down considerably. He had 5 home runs over the next 2 months combined and less RBI combined over the last 2 months. So April was just unbelievable. Then May and June, he really struggled. He started to rebound in the second half, though, made some adjustments. And the second half was pretty solid there. 5 and 14, 4 and 17. And then he finished up in 324 in the month of September. So I'm encouraged by what I saw to Soderstrom late. I figured he would get found out and exposed a little bit. And what you want to see with young players is, do they make adjustments back? Jackson Merrill got exposed a little bit. Didn't make adjustments back. This year he needs to do that. Soderstrom is in that same sort of bag. Randy Arozarena, another guy too that, it's a 2020 guy, right? You know what you're getting. I think in roto leagues, you're going to get a lower batting average. You're going to get 2020. He's going to be in a pretty good lineup. I mean, theoretically, that Seattle lineup with Josh Naylor and Julio Rodriguez, and a fellow named Cal Raleigh, who's pretty good hitting home runs. All of a sudden, like, that lineup is no joke. And I think that was the thing that going into last year, we had questions, right, about the Mariners. We said the pitching's so good, but can they generate enough offense? And they obviously heard. And they 2 years ago, they acquired Rosarena. You had Cal Raleigh take that huge leap forward. That was a big change for him. Jarren Duran, another guy I just want to circle here at number 18 in the rankings here, 65 overall. Also another good, a better version of a Rosarena. It's going to hit for a higher batting average, going to give you power, going to give you speed. Maybe not quite as much power as a Rosarena will, but Jarren Duran, another, I think, undervalued guy in those roto formats, especially in the season-long format. So these are the top 24 outfielders. We've got more outfielders to go to because we got to get a little deeper. And actually, there's some real values here that we're going to pick apart for you. So don't go anywhere. When we come back, we're going to take a look at the rest of the outfield list, tell you who to draft, who to avoid here on FST. Don't go anywhere. More SportsGrid coming at you.
Michigan at a 57% chance right now, followed by Arizona, Duke, and Houston. Here's the interesting caveat, Joe, for Michigan, who's the favorite right now. On February the 8th at 5 a.m., they were trading at 40%. Today, 57%. People like themselves some Michigan here.
Well, Donnie, exactly, because Michigan, it just vaulted themselves to number one in the AP poll.
Prediction Markets Edge. Only on SportsGrid.
How much do you think tanking is hurting the NBA right now, too? And what we're seeing, like we saw with that Jazz and Orlando game a week ago, how much do you think that's hurting the game?
I can't wait until professional sports in the United States adopts a European model, especially like a Premier League model, and they start doing relegation. The day you start doing relegation, everything changes. Everything will change.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio. Only on SportsGrid.
I have my own account. I don't need to have any. He didn't say any of that. So I'm of the belief that if someone accuses you of something and you don't deny it, there's a reason you didn't deny it. Because you kind of feel like they got me. And yes, I'm not going to tell you I did it, but I did it.
Yeah.
Don't you think so?
The Craig Carden Show. Only on SportsGrid.
Yeah, and with the Clippers, Craig, it feels like Kawhi is on an island. We saw him ball out in the All-Star game the other day. Kawhi was very impressive, and he's had a fantastic season. I think when you look at the Clippers, if the Clippers' record was better, but he's still a James Harden, you would be talking about Kawhi as an MVP candidate. He's been one of the best players in the league in terms of how he's been playing. He's been fantastic.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Well, welcome back into FST Fantasy Sports today. Matt and Joe with you here, along with just a rowdy group behind the glass. Tip of the cap to everybody pushing buttons and making things happen. Joe, we're doing outfielder rankings. If you haven't met Joe, he's Joe Pisapia. He's the author of the Fantasy Black Book. So when we talk about rankings, he's the guy. We've gone through a few. Now we're sitting at ADP 87 to 130. I think that's what we'll cover in this segment. So what's that? That's about almost 45 particular players, 43 players here. It starts with Seiya Suzuki and Oneil Cruz at the top. And the bottom is actually where I kind of want to take the conversation, and I'll let you really drive it. But if you missed out on some of the big name outfielders, maybe you went strong pitching early or certain positions that you thought to be a bit shallow, you took your dives. There's a bunch of players at 117, 122, 125, and 126 that I'd be fine rostering. They are Teoscar Hernandez, Taylor Ward, Luis Robert, and Joe Adell. Now, with that said, what does this say about outfield overall if you miss early?
Well, when you get into this territory, everybody has got a wart pretty much. I think Seiya Suzuki is grossly undervalued, actually, to tell you the truth. This is a guy with 3 straight years since he's come to the major leagues of an 800 or more OPS. And I don't think he gets enough credit. And last year, he gave up some batting average, but he hit a lot more home runs. And I'm willing to make that sacrifice again in 2026 for my country and for my fantasy team. I'm willing to do that. Seiya Suzuki is a guy that I think is very steady. That Cubs lineup is very good, just got better year over year as well. So Seiya Suzuki is that one guy that I would absolutely circle as like my target. Again, if you're missing out on outfield, how do you make up ground? I think it's with guys like Seiya Suzuki. After that, Oneil Cruz. He's got power, he's got speed, it's contact that's the problem. However, I will say this. I think Oneil Cruz this year, surrounded by a little bit more professional lineup around him, could be better. If Connor Griffin comes in and hits too, God, he's looked so good this spring too. Man, that That kid is as advertised. Let me tell
gonna
you,
be
Connor
fun.
Griffin is definitely, he really is. It really could change the landscape of the Pirates. But O'Neal Cruz, again, as a player that I was never the biggest fan of, but now it's become a reverse where I feel like he's such a value that I'm in drafts now with like my co-host of Fantasy Pros MLB on YouTube, where we do drafts. He's like, you just took O'Neal Cruz? I'm like, yeah, that's the guy you loved the last 3 years. Well, I was like, yeah, he's disappointing. I was like, yeah, he's disappointing at your ADP, but not at mine, not in roto leagues where you're looking for
Good
power
point.
and speed. Yelich scares me a little bit always because of the back issues. Like, it's just another year older. I don't know. I'm just not a Yelich investor. Michael Harris, again, I think is fine where he's being valued this year. Last year, I told you he was one of the biggest bad values, and I was correct. The first half of the year was dreadful. He did rebound in the second half, but he absolutely killed you in the first half. Kyle Stowers is interesting. This guy had a breakout season last year for the Marlins. He wants to sign a long-term deal, but the Marlins are a bit of a frugal organization, Matt, let's just say, and they weren't really looking forward to it. And it might cost them in the long run more, or Kyle Stowers might be on his way out. But last year, 25 homers, 5 steals, hit 288. He was kind of the linchpin of that lineup for a team that was competitive, more competitive than I think people realized that they were going to be. You mentioned Teoscar Hernandez. He's a lock for 25 homers and 90 RBI this year, hitting for the Dodgers. I agree on that value. Taylor Ward is fine. Luis Robert is another one, too. If I'm taking gambles, I want to take a gamble on Luis Robert. He's playing in a contract year. We know he steals bases. In the beginning of the year, he's probably going to hit lower in the order. If he gets off to a good start, he will move up from 7 in that order to 4 or 5. I'm telling you right now. So that's another one where you just kind of circle. And it's not because he's a Met, and it's not because he's there now.
No.
I do think when you're playing for the White Sox, but think about it, like the profile of the lineup you're playing in, and now you're in a lineup that's got Lindor, that's got Soto in it. I mean, it's a very, Bo Bichette's a very different circumstance.
Yeah, I'm with you. And just quickly before we get to the next tier, you mentioned Taylor Ward. He's a Baltimore Oriole. Joe, what does it take to be a Baltimore Oriole? What are certain things, qualities for which the organization looks to be an Oriole?
I don't know, but they wear a lot of Oakley. They wear a lot of Oakleys on the Orioles. I can tell you that much. Look, Orioles are going to be an interesting team this year. Rodgers, I think, had a breakout season. I love Rodgers. And that was a pitcher that I always liked, that I always thought, man, eventually this tall lefty is going to figure it out. Sometimes it just takes those guys a little bit more time. But I think they've been in a weird position where they didn't want to trade a lot of the youth to get better right away. But then some of the youth has kind of stalled out. The Kobe Mayos of the world and some other prospects haven't quite hit the way they wanted to. Adley Rutschman didn't become the superstar they thought he would. Will Basayo be that guy now? I don't know if he fits in there, Matt. We'll see how they got to jam him into that lineup somehow. But I will say this, the rest of this outfield group, Marcia is interesting. He had a nice little cup of coffee last year with the Marlins, another player that, these guys on these smaller market teams, Matt, they tend to get dismissed and undervalued. Brandon Nimmo, another one too. I think he's pretty steady. I think he'll perform well in Texas, and I think he'll be just fine. You'll pretty much get the same season you got last year out of Brandon Nimmo, maybe with a little less batting average.
All right, with the time that we have remaining, let's exhaust the rest of the outfielders here from 131 to 186 in ADP. Starts with Lawrence Butler. There are names like Andy Pages, Noelvi Marte, Stephen Kwan is on this list. Chandler Simpson will get a chance to show who he truly is with Tampa. Alec Burleson will be a bright spot for the Cardinals. Mike Trout still exists. Brenton Doyle could have some injury issues. And then there's Brian Reynolds for Pittsburgh. Joe, where do you want to go?
Andy Pages is definitely a guy that I like. Pages last year, 27 homers, 14 steals to 270, and he plays for the Dodgers. 2 years ago when he got called up, I was a big fan of Pages too. You could see that he's got the skills. Aggressive player. I like his approach. To me, I think you can take last year, and again, what a tremendous value. If you can get Andy Pages as the 38th outfielder overall, and he's going to get 25 homers and steal 15 bases and hit 270, my God, sign me up for that every day. Noelvi Marte is a guy that we've already talked about in the third base previews, qualifies at outfield too. That's another player that I would circle. Stephen Kwan, always steady. Ian Happ, same thing. Good value plays here in this grouping. Profar as well. Again, batting average a little bit lower. Chandler Simpson, one-dimensional, but man, that dimension's so good. He's going to steal a ton of bases this year, and he's going to hit for a high batting average. So depending on where he is in the lineup, if he's in high in the lineup, then the runs are in a good spot. If he hits low, if he's an 8-9 guy in the lineup, that might be a different story. But the stolen bases are going to be there. I think Chandler Simpson's best format is definitely head-to-head roto. That's where you want Chandler Simpson. Alec Burleson, another steady guy too. So there's some steady values. Maybe get a bounce back on Brian Reynolds, and it's weird to see Mike Trout's name here almost as the 50th outfielder overall. It just tells you kind of where we're at in terms of the signs of the times. But those are your outfielders. That's what the landscape looks like. We come back, we're going to give you some numbers on a starting pitcher who had a great first half. He was an all-star, then fell apart. Really rebounded in 2026. We'll tell you after this.
Michigan at a 57% chance right now, followed by Arizona, Duke, and Houston. Here's the interesting caveat, Joe, for Michigan, who's the favorite right now. On February the 8th at 5 a.m., they were trading at 40%. Today, 57%. People like themselves some Michigan here.
Well, Donnie, exactly, because Michigan, it just vaulted themselves to number one in the AP poll.
Prediction Markets Edge. Only on SportsGrid.
How much do you think tanking is hurting the NBA right now, too? And what we're seeing, like we saw with that Jazz and Orlando game a week ago, how much do you think that's hurting the game?
I can't wait until professional sports in the United States adopts a European model, especially like a Premier League model, and they start doing relegation. The day you start doing relegation, everything changes. Everything will change.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio. Only on SportsGrid.
I have my own account. I don't need to have any. He didn't say any of that. So I'm of the belief that if someone accuses you of something and you don't deny it, there's a reason you didn't deny it. Because you kind of feel like they got me. And yes, I'm not going to tell you I did it, but I did it. Yeah. Don't you think so?
The Craig Carden Show. Only on SportsGrid.
Yeah, and with the Clippers, Craig, it feels like Kawhi is on an island. We saw him ball out in the All-Star game the other day. Kawhi was very impressive, and he's had a fantastic season. I think when you look at the Clippers, if the Clippers' record was better, but he's still James Harden, you would be talking about Kawhi as an MVP candidate. He's been one of the best players in the league in terms of how he's been playing. He's been fantastic.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
And now the end is near, and so I face. Welcome back to FST Fantasy Sports. Today, I've been Matt Striker. He's been Joe Pisapia. The crew behind the glass has turned over the course of the years, but it's been pretty consistent over the past few. Sam Yarnell and TD Jake and the rest of the crew, AJ, and anybody I'm missing by name, just know that by heart, you all have just made good stuff. And Joe, the reason I say this is because I'll let you break the news, but overall, it's just been a great ride.
It has. It's been a great 6 years of doing this program on Sundays with you, my friend. It's been really fun, but it does come to an end. All good things do in fantasy sports today, as some of you may or may not know, has its last ride today. So we've had a great group of producers and people helping us out throughout the years, all the graphics folks too over the years, but also a shout out to our boy Kofsky and Tommy too. Like, we've had a great group of people here Sunday mornings with a lot of passion for baseball and football and sports showing up here, helping us do this show. We hope you've enjoyed it, obviously, over these last few years, and a very consistent run too. It's not very often you get to come to work every single Sunday and get to work with somebody that you really enjoy as a human being, but also as an analyst as well. And it's been an absolute privilege. And I remember when we started, Matt, I don't think had any children or was just having one. Now he's got two. I remember during the COVID, us trying to record for 4 hours just to get an hour's worth of content because technology had not quite caught up the way it is now to what we do in this format. So those were some fun times, and that's how you really get to know somebody. And Matt, it's been an absolute privilege to get to know you on and off camera. So I just want to say I'm very proud of the work we've done here over these last 6 years. and my 10 years here as well. It'll be sad to go away, but I'm sure SportsGrid's got a lot of fun programming. Matt, any final words you want to throw out about our time together here on this program?
So much to say, but I echo everything you said. I just think overall, the lesson I'm hopeful that anyone watching or listening will take from our experience is, one, if you at the very least enjoy what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. And I think a lot of people feel that they are stuck working. If you can find enjoyment in what you do, it is not work. Secondly, if you can find enjoyment in others, it's hard. Don't get me wrong. I am one of the most antisocial people in the world. But if you find something that clicks, whether it be virtually or in person, we prefer in person because the world shouldn't go to the cold annals of just virtual knowing one another. But with that said, if you can just find good things in people that you enjoy, the slightest thing, I like that guy's sneakers, whatever it might be, find joy. Just find joy in life because there's so much, and I can say it now, you can't take me off. There's so much shit out there to make us feel bad. So find some joy. All right. So there's that. What are they going to do? Joe, do you want to talk about Mackenzie Gore?
Yeah.
I mean, how about to follow that Mackenzie Gore?
I mean, look, I'll say this too. I mean, this show started out as Diamond Bets, which was just baseball, and then it was a good show, and they gave us a chance to do football too, which is, the real special sauce there. And we've had different co-hosts over the years too. I mean, Craig Mish was with us for a season in football. Eric Young, our good friend as well. Two of Craig and Eric both. We've had a different cast, but the one thing that's always been true here, Sunday mornings on SportsGrid, has been Joe Pisapia and Matt Striker, and I'm very proud of the work that we've done here. And who knows where the universe will take us next, Matthew? Absolutely. Stranger things have happened. But yeah, you know what? We always finish on business here. Mackenzie Gore, last year, before the All-Star break, let's talk about him. A 1.20 whip, a 3.0 ERA, 110 innings, and a whole lot of strikeouts, 30% strikeout rate. And then the wheels came off, a 6.75 ERA after the break and 50 innings. What happened? Well, Mackenzie Gore obviously got a little exposed and also got off some of the things that he was doing very well. But I am very optimistic. His ADP is cheap this year, and the upside is huge. And I think whenever you get to, sit in a dugout with Jacob deGrom and sit in a dugout with Nady Eovaldi, chances are you're going to pick up some things. And I think that's one of those things a young pitcher lacks the most on some of these bad teams, right? You're a young pitcher who's really talented, but you don't get to pick the brain of somebody else who's been there and done that. It's one of the reasons I think Noel McLean will succeed this year so much is because he got Freddie Peralta ahead of him, who's been out there throwing 200 innings every year. He's like, hey, kid, this is what you got to do. I think veteran presence matters a lot, and I think some of these teams would do a better job of that. It would be nice to see. But it was nice to see you. It was nice to see all of our incredible folks. Sam Yarnell, too, who's been with us probably the longest, I would think, of anybody. Shout out to Sam. He's always been a class act. And again, thanks to everybody here at SportsGrid for giving Matt and myself this opportunity to come into your homes and your devices every single Sunday for the last 6 years. That'll do it for us. But the story of the game goes on. From Matt Striker, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids. Enjoy your Sunday.
Know that Florida lost at home to Auburn, and it's a real thing that happened. So you can't strike it from the record. But if you did, I think Florida's looked like the best team in college basketball for about 2 months. And I think there are a bunch of results that suggest that.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
How much do you think tanking is hurting the NBA right now, too? And what we're seeing, like we saw with that Jazz and Orlando game a week ago, how much do you think that's hurting the game?
I can't wait until professional sports in the United States adopts a European model, especially like a Premier League model, and they start doing relegation. The day you start doing relegation, everything changes. Everything will change.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
Michigan at a 57% chance right now, followed by Arizona, Duke, and Houston. Here's the interesting caveat, Joe, for Michigan, who's the favorite right now. On February the 8th at 5 a.m., they were trading at 40%. Today, 57%. People like themselves some Michigan here.
Well, Donnie, exactly, because Michigan, it just vaulted themselves to number one in the AP poll.
Prediction Markets Edge, only on SportsGrid.